When you see something, say something. Like we saw that Social Dilemma documentary. The funniest part is the guy worked there for so long and no one said
Mm.
anything about how they thought the way algorithms were programmed were kind of screwing people over and misleading them. And then finally he spoke up. And I think a lot of people probably wanted to, but now is the time to speak up about how to create a more ethical technology company.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Conversations with Lamp House Films, the show where we bring you direct access to tips and insights from today's marketing thought leaders. I'm your host, Josh Henry. Lamp House Films is a production company that creates film-centered marketing campaigns. Our passion, both in our commercials and on the show, is to help companies create marketing that is honest, beautiful, and effective. Today on the show, we're talking with Lindsey Plocek, a principal product manager at Mindtickle. Mindtickle is a sales readiness company that is using AI to power marketing insights. But as technology and marketing evolves, we are faced with more and more ethical questions, and that is what today's conversation is really about. But real quick, make sure to subscribe, click the link below to get our free bonus content, and if you've been enjoying the show, we would love to hear from you. So leave us a review. It takes like 20 seconds, and it helps other people find the show. Now, let's jump into our conversation with Lindsey. It's the same thing in the news. The stories that are told are always the most dramatic version of a thing, and then it sways the way that the public is viewing something like AI. Where do you feel like our responsibility as marketers plays into that? 'Cause I think about the promises that like marketers are making to the world and painting, because so much of what we do, it's storytelling, it's filmmaking, it's writing, it's like painting a picture for people. And so what do marketers need to be thinking about as they're, forecasting the world that we're trying to make?
So this is a wonderful question. Thank you for asking me this question. If you are marketing or selling something that you do not feel is ethical, you might want to quit that job. Like, I think we vote with the jobs that we take,
Mm.
with the products we buy, with the expectations we have. That is not all that should happen. We need regulatory bodies. We do. I mean, in France, you can't even be on air different amounts of time if you're political candidates. And look what the situation is here, right? So there has to be a balance, but I feel like people have more power than they realize in voting with the jobs that they take, with the standards that they have. I personally wanted to be at the table working at an AI company because I'm a first generation college graduate. I'm a woman. I grew up in Toledo. I think our perspective needs to be at the table. It's going to happen with us or without. And I've played a big role in trying to make sure we're very accurate about describing what we do, that we're pursuing use cases that are genuinely valuable. I pick companies that are on the cutting edge of like compliance and data security and protection. So those are the things that I've considered, but it's really important. And I think companies need to do a good job of educating people on the right use cases, how to do change management in their organization, how to communicate about these things or not, use them, properly or not. So I think it's going to be huge for marketers and for all business people.
Yeah, and then I think it's one thing to be like thinking about, oh, is this company just not ethical and try not be marketing for them at all? But then once you're at a company that you do stand by, it's like are you filtering even the creative that you're developing, the campaigns that you guys are going to be running, the messaging? Are you filtering it through this lens actively of like what is the narrative we're putting out and is it helpful?
I completely try to. And I
Hmm.
can't say I've been perfect, right? Because you start to get in your own head. But I really try to think very carefully about the messaging, make it simple, make it accurate, make it people first and focus on problems, not technology jargon. Like, make this approachable to people.
Hmm.
Same with how we're describing data protection and security and training our team on how to communicate that properly. It's something we take very seriously. It's something I love about Mindtickle in general. I think they've really, really done a good job of that. But when you see something, say something. Like we saw that Social Dilemma documentary. The funniest part is the guy worked there for so long and no one said
Hmm.
anything about how they thought the way algorithms were programmed were kind of screwing people over and misleading them. And then finally he spoke up. And I think a lot of people probably wanted to, but now is the time to speak up about how to create a more ethical technology company.
Yeah, I think so often as like a person who's into marketing, people are like, "Oh, you're so good at spinning things to make them sound good." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. If I have to spin it to make it sound good, then we ought not to be spinning it. Like you need to be finding like yeah, and I think with the Facebook with Social Dilemma there was an article that just came out a couple weeks ago about how aware they are of the negative impact that their platforms are having on children. But then the marketing team is tasked with the job of like, okay, well, how do we sell it anyway? Or how do we like make it so that we're downplaying this information? And I feel like as a society, we're sort of over that now. Like, if you're going to be spinning stuff to me, like, no thanks, we're going to figure it out.
I think you're spot on. We want to have candid, authentic conversations about how we live with this level of technology now, right? Like it's not going away. You can't even really, pay your bills these days if you don't have a cell phone, which is crazy in and of itself. I work with elderly people here in SF and 85+ year olds that live in the Tenderloin. Some of them don't even have cell phones. So we're creating a society where technology, we're very dependent on it. I would say too dependent on it. So I myself am not on technology a lot. I don't have a TV. When I'm out of work, I am very much like writing poetry or going to a festival or something. And I think we have to find the balance of like, what can an individual do? What can we do as workers? And what do we expect out of, the powers that be and politicians and regulatory bodies? And I think we do have to have high expectations for those folks, because I don't think we completely have control. We're all addicted to some form of technology today. We are.
And what's tricky for me is like so much of marketing is like just get people to continue to engage online. So as a person who is so what is, if we feel like the world needs to move in this direction, what is the future of marketing that can leave that behind at least a little bit? I know now we're getting into real big questions.
This is so interesting. And I took one of my first jobs because I grappled with the same thing. And it was basically a company that paid people to participate in marketing, to come up with new product flavors, to promote products and review them. And that has its own questions now, right? It turned into the influencer industry and we're debating that. But I don't think there's a single answer, but I do think we need to think about the right outcome. And I don't think it's wasting people's time and sucking their attention away from their family and their passions. I think it's get people to the outcome quickly and efficiently, get them the information they need in the moment they need it. Those types of outcomes, I think, will guide user experiences and technology. And in fact, I think UX is one of the most interesting roles right now at any technology company.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying about like just like get them what they need and then get out. And I think so much of our time is spent like, how do we get them to continue engaging indefinitely? And it's like, yeah, it's hard to, when that's the scale by which success is measured, it's hard to redefine it. But yeah, that's good. That's important work.
I think a lot of people are redefining it right now. It's what is genuine engagement? It's high value. It is not just based on time. It's based on the experience you have and what you carry with you from that experience. How do you keep people engaged, motivated, and inspired at work, especially over the computer? I mean, we have to do it, right? This is a huge chunk of our lives now. And I think there's a lot of work to be done there.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Marketing Conversations with Lamp House Films. Lamp House is a production company that creates film-centered marketing campaigns. If you want to chat with us about your next campaign or would like to hear more about what we do here at Lamp House, we would love to hear from you. You can reach me directly at josh@lamphousefilms.com or schedule a meeting right now using the link in our description. While you're down there, click the link to get access to our bonus content. It's totally free. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening on a podcasting platform, send us that review. It goes such a long way. Marketing Conversations is a production of Lamp House Films and it's produced by Lauren Zaire and Malia Irby. I'm your host, Josh Henry. Until next time, stay inspired and let's keep the conversation going.